and welcome to My Brain is a Wonderland, the podcast for neurodivergent women and the people who love them. You're here with your host, Emily, and I just wanted to remind everyone before we get started that the new Film Fixation series started last Thursday, which is where I, once a month, rewatch a probably 80s, 90s, or 2000s movie that I've hyperfixated on either in the past or currently or my entire life, and do a long rewatch episode of it. Last week I did the 2003 movie Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, and next month I will be doing a horror movie in favor of Halloween. So stay tuned for that once a month, the second to last Thursday of every month. Today, we are going to be talking about dreams. And I don't mean the sleepy dreams, I mean the dreams, the aspirations, the desires that we all have, and that I think as neurodivergent people, we sometimes falter in. We sometimes fall at the first hurdle. We get ahead of ourselves, maybe. We decide we want to do something, but taking the steps to get there seems insurmountable. So I want to talk about some of my dreams that I've had in the past and I currently have, some dreams that have completely failed, and some dreams that have happened, that have manifested. One of those dreams, honestly, is having this podcast. I can't believe I'm back at it and being consistent with it and talking to all of you every week and having a great time doing it, honestly. So growing up, I'd always been artistic. I'd drawn a lot, painted a lot, and honestly, and don't be afraid about bragging, ladies, honestly, I was an excellent artist and always have been. Even now, people ask me, who taught you how to draw this way? No one taught me how to draw the way that I draw. I'm very good at hyperrealism. I'm very good, I think I spoke about this in the last episode, about being a copycat. I can see something and copy it exactly, and I've always been able to do that. When I was a kid, it was doing cartoons and things of that nature. I've always been able to draw people and really just anything. I went through a lot of different careers as a child, obviously, ADHD, and just being a child. You just oscillate between this, that, and the other. But around the age of, let's say, 13, I was going back and forth, 13 to 14, back and forth between if I wanted to be a journalist or an artist. When I was 14 or 13, I won a local competition to write for the local newspaper. I took a week off of school and worked at the newspaper. And it was a really amazing experience. And then when I was 14, we had to choose where we wanted to work for our work experience for a week or so during school. And I picked a magazine off of Oxford Street in London. If anyone remembers it, Sugar Magazine. That's where I did my internship. Oh my god, I was so excited. I saw someone interview Usher, I remember at the time, and it was like life-changing. But I was oscillating at the time between being a journalist and being an artist. And I did end up being a journalist for a while. I will talk about that in an episode, because there are reasons why it worked for my ADHD and didn't work for my autism. At some point, I, said, I'm going to be an artist. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an artist, and I want to move to America, and I want to work for Disney and be a cartoonist. That was my end goal, everything. And looking back, do you know what's kind of sad? Looking back is knowing with my skill and my drive, when you get an ADHD drive going, that is hard to match. I know I could have done it. I know, deep down inside, that I could have been an animator at Disney if I'd really gone for it. And here's what ended up happening, okay? When I was like 15, maybe, I started, and this is gonna sound, if you are under the age of 30, you're going to be like, what is she talking about? Or maybe under the age of 25, I'm not sure. But back then, the internet was in its infancy. They didn't have these huge websites that had all the information. So you had to request physical prospectus from the website, which is like a manual that has everything in it. So I started requesting from American universities, art universities, the best, the brightest, the biggest, and the ones in London, Chelsea, Art School, University of London, things like that. And they started getting delivered to me and my mom's apartment, right? These prospectuses. Prospectus? I don't know. They're the little, like, books, basically, that have all the information about the program, how to apply, blah, blah, blah. And they started arriving in the mail, and I would break them open with much eagerness and start reading through how I could go to art school in the US mostly. I would love to have gone to Chelsea Art School in London. That's globally one of the best in the world, but I really wanted to go to America. And look at me now. And one day I was sitting there in the living room, and my mom was there, and I was going through some of these manuals, these prospectuses. And my mom said, well, what are you going to do with that even? And I said, well, I want to be an artist. And she's like, that's such a waste. What are you even going to do? Like, and I'm telling you, I immediately abandoned it in my mind. My RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, reared its ugly head. I'm realizing that now. And I was so eager for people that I loved's approval that when she said that she was disapproving of it and was like, dude, what are you even going to do with this? That's what it was. It wasn't even that she disapproved of it. If she'd said, no, I don't want you to do that, I probably would have gone full force into doing it, because I would have been 18 and an adult and she couldn't do anything, and if I'd got funding and blah, blah, blah. But because she said, what are you even going to do with that? It really freaking hurt me, because she's an amazing artist too. And it made me feel like, do you not see the talent that I have? Do you not see how I could be an amazing artist? Do you not see that? And it made me feel like she couldn't see it, that she just thought this is stupid. For some context, though, we grew up very poor. When I say apartment, we lived in government housing in the US. That'd be the projects. I was, in a single family home. My father died when I was 4. He drank himself to death from being an alcoholic. And that was kind of the reality we lived in, that my mom wanted me to have a more secure job. She wanted me to be a journalist, right? At the time, in 2001, 2000, being a journalist was, a sure thing. You made good money. Well, the internet killed that, didn't it? But I really think the RSD got me there. That she saying that kind of, not believing in me and my skills really killed that dream. And I hate to say that, because this is something recurring in my life. I tried to go to art school again after college. I thought about doing it. I was going to go to an atelier. And an atelier it's a 4-year-long program, but you focus very much on the Italian old masters like Da Vinci style of learning. And you draw human bodies, then you paint in oil. And I thought I was going to do that. I didn't know how I was going to fund it, but I didn't end up doing that. And it comes up somewhat frequently that I worry that if by the end of my life I haven't gone to art school or done some rigorous art training, that I'm gonna really freaking regret it. And I honestly in some ways hate her for that. I hate her for doing that, for saying that, and then in other ways I hate myself. I hate myself for saying, okay, I guess I'm not doing that now because you said so. It's that RSD, that the response is so intense when people say things, and that really bothers me, that I couldn't push through that and just say, no, I am doing it, Mom. That's what I'm going to do. So that was really one of my first major dreams and passions that I really wanted to pursue that I just went, I guess not. Another major passion of mine and dream of mine was really to travel the world and see all the things that I wanted to see. I did go and live in China for a few months when I was on my gap year between high school and college. And then after that, my entire focus, because this was after I'd given up the art dream, my entire focus was going abroad. So I knew that in my first year of college, if I went to the study abroad office, I could find out where I could go study abroad. And I did that, and really where I wanted to go was America. America has always been the dream. I know some Americans are like, why? You have free healthcare. Oh, the pastries are so good out there, blah, blah, blah. But America seemed so enticing, exciting. I was obsessed with Sex and the City. I wanted to live in New York. I was obsessed with Friends. I mean, I'm very media obsessed. I wanted to live in LA. I mean, really, when I say I wanted to live in LA and New York, that was really it. That's what I thought of America. The American major cities, right? And I went to the study abroad office, and they said you could go to Athens, Greece, hello, or Reykjavik, Iceland, and we'll pay you to do it. I'm like, okay, because we had a European exchangey funded money thing. I was like, that sounds good. What about America? And they said, well, you can go to America anytime, but it's going to cost like $50,000 a year to go. I'm like, okay, what about, free America, you pay me stuff? And they said, we have one scholarship per year for one student to go to a UC, a University of California school. And that's it. It's an essay competition. And I immediately said, I'm going to write that freaking essay and I'm going to win that freaking contest. And you know what? I did. So I wrote the essay. I'm a great writer, remember? Hark back. I was going to be a journalist, not just because I wanted to, but because I was an amazing writer, and I think that's common with people with ADHD. Creativity, all the things. You get the freelance aspect, you're all alone writing, and all that kind of stuff. And I wrote the essay, and I got the scholarship, and they said, you can choose to go to any UC school. And immediately I wanted to go to UCLA. And they said, oh, wait, you can go to any UC school, but you have to have a certain amount of funds before you go there. I had student loans from the UK. I don't want to get into it, but they're not like US student loans. Tuition was free for me, and student loans have like a 1% interest each year. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they said you need something like $30,000 a year. And I was like, well, I get like $15,000 in student loans a year, so I can't afford that. But UC Berkeley, hello, allows for less. Now I'm not so sure, because Berkeley is by San Francisco, and they are expensive. But basically, I chose UC Berkeley. Ended up going to UC Berkeley for a year. Met my husband. Had a whale of a time. Ended up marrying him, and here we are. I live in America now and have for the past 15 years. But really, this was one of my major dreams that I worked towards, and like I said about the Disney thing, that I know, because of my skills and my desire and my determination, I could have become a Disney animator if I'd really gone for it. I knew that I could win that scholarship, and I knew that I could get here and do this, and I did. And I was going to say living the dream, but here's the thing about when you fulfill your dreams. It's like being an animator for Disney. It's still a job, right? So you become an animator for Disney. You're like, it's the dream. And you're like, right, but you still have a job that you have to show up to 5 days a week. It's still a job. And it's the same thing now. I live in America, but it's living, right? I've been here so long. There are certain things the dream hasn't worn off on. If you take me to an American diner, man, I am giddy like a schoolgirl. American diners drive me wild. There's a drive-in theater several, maybe 15, 20 miles away that I really want to go to, because drive-ins those aren't things outside of the US. There are things in the US I just want to experience. And it's just been amazing. And that's one of my fulfilled dreams that I'm really happy about. Now I want to talk about some tangible and intangible dreams that haven't been fulfilled, but I want them to be fulfilled. And there's some of them that like I said, I know I can do. And I'm speaking to you out there, you neurodivergent people who can overfocus, who can fixate on things. If you want to do something, you really can. And I know you're thinking, yeah, but I have this, I have that. I know. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. But if you just keep consistently, and by consistent, I mean once a year, contributing to something you want to do, you will get there. And I just want people to know that if you have the desire, the passion, the drive, and the fixation, you can get there. And man, is this me talking to myself, trying to hype myself up? It might be. One of the tangible dreams I've had for a long time, and what I want to do is I want to write a book. I want to write a book about kind of like a memoir, but each chapter is a different story. So it's segmented. It's kind of like a non-fiction essay about when I was born, about being 4 years old, about being 12, and just kind of going through my life with these segmented essays. Some will be funny, some will be sad, some, And I really want to start doing that next year when I'm done with grad school. Grad school's taking up a lot of my time, and once grad school's done, I think I'm going to focus on my book. And anyone here who's listening who wants to write a book, you don't need anything to write a book and sell a book except a good frickin' book. You don't need 100 million Instagram followers. You don't need backing from some rich dude. You just need excellent material that you can submit to an agent. That is it. And then the agent will shop it around for you. So that's just some advice from me to you. I'm guessing there's some ADHD people, maybe many, listening right now who would love to write a book or have written a book. It's all about the quality of the material with books still. Books have, especially fiction, a memoir. If you have a non-fiction book, if it's about science, you do need that following. You do need like a PhD in science. But if it's a fiction book or a memoir, it just needs to be quality material. That's it. They don't care. They just want it to be something people want to read. Another tangible goal is me and my husband purchased a house in November 2020 in a city in Florida that has absolutely exploded. We got on our mortgage, I think it's like 1.9% interest. Yeah, let that sink in. I mean, I think it's like 5 to 7% now. And I can't even believe we did that back then. We just pulled the trigger, did it, and it was amazing. And we're in a neighborhood that we absolutely love. But about a block away, literally a block away, are all of these incredible houses that are just gorgeous, bigger than what we're in right now. We're in like a 1,250 square feet house. These houses are like 3,000 plus with, fenced in pools and game rooms and blah, blah, blah. And one of our goals and dreams is to buy a house in that neighborhood. It really is. We walk around that neighborhood and say, we want to get here. And I think my husband feels a little bit like it's never going to happen. And for some reason, maybe it's my neurodivergency, maybe it's just because I know we can do it, I feel like that we're going to buy a house in that neighborhood one day. It might take 10 years, it might take 20 years, but I honestly feel that we are going to own a house in that neighborhood. And you just have to keep working and saving and figuring out where you can do that, I guess. I don't know. We're far away from it, but in my mind, I'm like, we're not that far. I don't know. Another tangible goal is goals for this podcast. I haven't taken on any guests, and that's actually a conscious choice. I really want this podcast to be more like a journal or a diary of my experience. I don't want other people putting in their 2 cents. Even though it's valuable, that's fine. But I really want this to be about me. How narcissistic is that? I really want it to just be about my experience, what I'm going through, and what I'm dealing with. And I don't want to, I was going to say muddy, but I don't want to muddy it with other people's interviews and other opinions and points of view. Not to say you shouldn't get other opinions and points of view. I'm just saying what I'm putting out is I want it to be solely me and my project. But I'm telling you right now, if Nicole Byer decides that she wants to be a guest on my podcast, or man, if I could be a guest on her podcast is Why Won't You Date Me? And she is a fabulous comedian and actress who has been diagnosed with ADHD, and she talks about it a lot on her podcast. If you haven't listened to Why Won't You Date Me, it's very explicit. Just want to put that out there. But she talks a lot about ADHD, talking to her therapist, her experience. She loves Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, because he seems to have ADHD and she relates very much to him, and she cried during that movie. But if anyone listening, hello, knows Nicole Byer or can get me in contact with Nicole Byer or her agent, I would be on cloud 9. The second person that I would be absolutely over the moon to have as a guest, or I don't think she has a podcast or anything, but, and these are totally out there, kind of tangible dreams. Honestly, when I talk about these, I don't feel like, oh, I'm definitely gonna get there one day. These feel like unreachable, but I'm putting it out there into the universe, because you never know. But Daryl Hannah. And if you are a millennial woman listening, you know, you love, you feel the Daryl Hannah vibes. She, oh my god, Splash, the movie, was defined part of my childhood. Roxanne with Steve Martin, she did Steel Magnolias, she's incredible. My teenage years, I went to a Woolworths in London and took the 12-foot banner for Kill Bill with her on and put it up in my bedroom. She's incredible, and she's autistic. I don't know when she exactly came out about this. She's spoken about it in a couple of interviews. I don't think she was out in the 80s and 90s. Don't quote me on that. I don't think so. But she would be a dream. And here's why. So many people talk about having ADHD, but not many people talk about being autistic. And I spoke about this in the last episode. ADHD is very much like, oh, you lack focus, you talk a lot. Autism, I think when people hear autism, they think like, oh, you're nonverbal, it's uncomfortable, I don't like, and I don't like that stigma that we have, and I wish more people who were diagnosed autistic would come out, especially people in positions of power, because it is so difficult to push past that stigma. And I've had issues with this in the past where I've told people, I have ADHD. Oh, cool. I have autism. Oh, it's really, But Daryl Hannah is a dream. She is, I love her. I love her as an actress. I love her understated acting, which kind of now makes sense that she's autistic. I don't want to speak for her. Maybe that's a choice and it's not related to her autism. But she's spoken about how she struggled on red carpets. Oh, I would too, girl. But I would love to have her as a guest on like a bonus episode of the podcast. That would be an absolute dream. Then intangible dreams for me, one of them would be freedom to travel, which I think goes along with the second one. Maybe I should say the second one first. Financial freedom. Financial freedom is intangible because it depends on what that level is for you. Some people, financial freedom is $2 million a year. Other people, financial freedom, like for me, is like, let's say $200K a year. I think $200K a year would give me the freedom to go on vacation, live the life I wanted, maybe not buy the house in the neighborhood, over a block away that I wanted. It would if I had, a few million a year. But I really want financial freedom, especially growing up with no money. It's really important to me. I constantly feel something on my back. I constantly feel this, the house could be struck by lightning tomorrow and our savings could be gone. The savings don't matter. I always have this vibe that, we have to keep working, we have to keep saving, da-da-da-da. And I would just, oh God, love to win the lottery. Love to come into some distant family member's money. That's not going to happen. Write the book. But, I don't know. You don't make much money from books. Do you make millions nowadays? I don't know. I just want financial freedom. And not to say that I'm in financial hell right now, but it's not like I can just say, I'm going to Paris next week. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to buy. I spoke to my husband recently. I want to be able to buy a flat, just a little flat or an apartment where I grew up in London. Just a little 1-bedroom, 1-bath. So we could rent it out, our family could go there, we could go there. I would love to have a little flat or condo or something in Jamaica, which is one of our heart places. But we're talking 200 to 300K for each of those cash down money. And that's crazy, and I just want that financial freedom to be comfortable. Even without that stuff, I don't want to feel it hanging over my head. And that's really, one of the main dreams for sure. And it's intangible because I don't really know how to get there. I'm in a good job and just to get promoted. I'd like to write this book, but, who's going to buy it? Or it's all the things. So those are my dreams. And wow, this got a little bit negative, not negative, but a bit of a downer at the end. But I think it's easier to grab onto tangible dreams for anybody, whether you're neurodivergent or not. And so those are easier to plan out, right? That you're going to get to this point. But if it's intangible, you're like, how do I get there? But I really believe if you have a tangible dream that you were skilled for, I mean, let's not be crazy. I could say, I'm in my late 30s. I'm going to be a professional figure skater who goes to the Olympics. That's just, my time has passed, right? It's not going to happen. I could be maybe an amateur figure skater in the above 34 age group or something, right? So you just have to be realistic. But if you have a goal in life, if you have a passion and you're determined, I really believe you can get that one focus and really do what you want to do. And there are so many things I want to do. And there's so little time. But I hope you join me on this journey with my podcast and hear hopefully how those goals and dreams evolve. Because you might be sitting here 2 years from now listening to me and I'm interviewing Nicole Byer. I'm putting that out there, people. All right, I'm putting that out there. I'm manifesting it. It's going in the universe. I am going to interview Nicole Byer, or I am going to guest on her podcast, or we're going to meet, or we're going to be in contact in the next 2 to 4 years. I think that's realistic if I keep going with the podcast. 2 to 4 years, I'm going to have some contact with Nicole Byer. But really, if you do know anybody or know her, please reach out because that will be a lot easier for me to do that. All right, guys, that's the end of the episode. I just want to remind you again, we are doing the new Film Fixation once a month, every second to last Thursday. You can reach out to me at mybrainisawonderlandpod@gmail.com. All of my social media handles are in the show notes, but it's basically My Brain is a Wonderland. And if you're loving what you're hearing, or even just liking what you're hearing, please leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening. helps get this information out there, helps me to connect to more people like you, and helps create a community that is lasting. And I hope to see you on the next episode of My Brain is a Wonderland, Season 2.